Welcome back. I'm kind of excited for today's video. I wanted it to be my first video, but this stupid thing's been giving me fits lately. We'll save that for another time, but today we could get it back out of the garage, have all the space we need to work, and I want to share with you what I believe are going to be some fairly unique organizational ideas and tips for your small space and your small shop. So without further ado, let me move this and we'll get on with it. Wow, we got a lot more room in here without that stupid thing. So why do I think my organizational video will be different? I'm not going to send you to the store every time we need something. I want you to think back to your dad's shop or maybe your grandfather's shop, and everything he had was homemade, usually out of repurposed material. He had his old workbench with the 2x4 top. He might have used a car wheel for an extension cord or a filing cabinet to keep his tools in. And that's kind of my personality. I'd rather try to make it here cheap than to run out and buy something. We could take these jack stands for example. They make awesome jack stand racks. You hang them on the wall. The cheapest I found yesterday in a quick search was $30 all the way to $100. They are cool, but for me, I use some scrap plywood. It holds my extra stingers, it holds my extra jacks, it holds my jack stands, everything's together. It costs me pennies. For my subscribers on this early channel, this will be a first look into my shop, kind of the way I do things, a little bit more deeper dive into my personality, the way I am. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll get started right now. Alright, quick disclaimer. So I did invest money in these first two picks, but the money spent has been so well worth it that I feel like I could justify including them in this video. And as far as my number one pick, it's got to be the OSB sheathing throughout the shop. It allows me two things. I could hang something just about anywhere as long as it's not super heavy. And two, it's pretty durable. It's going to hold up to the test of time. You're not going to knock a hole in it real easy. As for cost, I needed to sheetrock my garage anyways. I tore it all out so I could insulate. And it was only a couple more dollars per sheet versus sheetrock. So that's a no-brainer for me. If you're in that position, it's pretty easy choice. If you got a nice finished out garage, it may not be that great of a choice, but you could do this whole garage for $450 right now today. And when you compare that to rack systems and some of the stuff they have out there, you cannot outfit a two-car garage for $450. So the OSB has got to be my number one choice. Although the OSB is my favorite out of all these, the rest are kind of categorized in skill set groups versus numbering. The first one's going to cater to any shop owner, any garage owner, and we're going to move right into my paint blinds. And what this is, I've simply attached tarps along the wall and along the joist in this case. And then at the bottom of the tarp, I attached it to PVC using pop rivets. This provides us an anchor to hold the tarp steady while we're using it. And it also allows us to roll it up nice and neat when we're not using it. Obviously, I've used it for painting, but I've also used it during the event of a garage sale. I could hide stuff behind the tarps, keeps people out of it. So if you do any events in your garage or you do painting, this might be a good option for you. If you're like me, when inspiration strikes, I want my tape measure with an easy grasp. I don't like mine stuffed in a drawer, and of course you don't want them laying around on the countertop. All this is HVAC strapping. Mine happened by accident. It got closed in a toolbox lid, but I finished it out, screwed it to the wall. It holds my tape measures. They're easy to get a hold of, and it cost me nothing. I'm sure just about everybody's used an organizer bin of some sort. I'm also sure most of you have experienced a lid breaking on them. Pretty soon this lid will be useless. This bin will need replaced. But what I like to do to get more life out of my organizer bins is at that point, I'll go ahead and just rip the lid off. It helps relieve any frustration you might have. And then I find a drawer where I need smaller compartments in my toolbox. I have several of them in here I've collected over the years. It helps divide up the space, and it also gives you a lot more life out of your organizer bin. Alright, so this wasn't actually on my list, but I figured it'd be a good honorable mention for any homeowner or the average DIY person. And that's my storage totes here. And what this is it has everything I may need for my house or extra parts that I've used on projects around the house, such as electrical, plumbing. I got tile and concrete tools here, my painting stuff, and we even have some mud and tape stuff here. And it keeps everything organized. I could grab the whole crate, go inside, paint till my heart's delight, bring it back out to the garage, and it all stays together. Let's shout out to the folks who like to make sawdust. As a former cabinet maker myself, I still use wood around the shop all the time. I still build cabinets on the side quite often, but I couldn't think of too many things around the shop that was just real unique. Everybody has seen the power tool racks, you've seen the organizer shelves, but I'm trying to keep things pretty unique here. So the first one I got is going to be these pocket screw shelves. So all this is just leftover scrap lumber. I drilled some pocket holes in the bottom of them, screwed them to the wall. They make great little display shelves. They get stuff up off the counters. They look cool, they're easy to build, and cost you nothing. Alright, so it's a new day out here in the shop. We're going to keep rolling with the folks that like to make sawdust. This next one's kind of controversial to me. I don't think my fishing rods should be out here in the shop getting dusty and grimy, but I'm not the first one to ever get married. Anybody that's befallen that fate, here's a simple way to store your fishing poles. All it is a piece of plywood. I drilled some 1.5-inch holes in it. Those holes are 4.5 inches on center. I screwed it straight to the joist. On the other side, I got these hooks from Walmart, about $4 worth of hooks, and it holds 8 rods, nice and neat, tucked up to the ceiling. So like I mentioned earlier, I didn't have too many picks for the woodworkers. I do have several honorable mentions. We've already talked about the jack stand rack, but what about a 4-foot drill bit or a long mixer? Notched a piece of wood, hangs them up out of the way. Or what about drawer dividers for your toolbox? Some old leftover 1/2-inch material makes great dividers. Organize your toolbox drawers. This one was built out of necessity, but kind of as a joke. I've been using this dustpan for 6 years. A little bit of sheet metal, some plywood, and a long bolt for a handle. And then this one that I'm standing next to now is my slingshot target. For those who still kind of have a kid at heart attitude, or maybe have kids, it's just a box. Put a lip here to screw the target to. I hung a towel in the back of it to soften the blow, and it catches all your ammo. I hope you've been enjoying the video so far, and now we're going to move right into my third category, and that's for the folks that like to burn metal. Behind me you'll see my bar clamp rack. Everybody's seen where they'll stack them horizontal all the way up and down the wall, or maybe they'll hang them from something vertical all the way across the wall. I didn't want to use a bunch of wall space. That's when I came up with this idea. It's just old leftover angle iron. It uses the threaded rod to support the clamp, so it could hold both styles of clamps, either your bar clamps or your pipe clamps. And it only takes up 24 inches of space. It'll hold up to about 25 clamps on it, and it's been real handy around the shop. So moving right on to the next one, what I have here is my 30-inch pry bar. And if you're like me, I just have a couple modest toolboxes. This one has a socket drawer on it, which is full. This one over here happens to have the top hatch, but that's where I like to keep my torque wrenches. So what do you do with something like this? Well, let's go around to the side and I'll show you. So what I have here is just a piece of 1.5-inch square tubing. I notched out the corners so I could run a bolt right into the factory mounting location for the handle on this toolbox. For the long items, I drilled all the way through both sides. It holds my long pry bars and stuff, but it also holds some other accessories I like to keep handy. This has been working real great for those pesky pry bars. The last idea for those who like to burn metal, and right here I have all my chain. I have no idea why I have this much chain. I've never spent $1 in my life on a piece of chain. I have more chain in the shed, but in 16 inches, I'm going to show you how much chain you could fit in your garage. None of it touches the floor. None of it's tangled up. I could grab whatever chain I want, and I'm going to clear that rack off for you right now. So you see, I threw 7 chains out on the floor. We still have a 3/8 chain hanging here. That's a 25-foot chain. I have these 2 pins here, and what that allows me to do on the longer chains is find the center of it and hang it right here on this pin. That keeps it all off the floor, and all it is a few pieces of scrap angle iron screwed to the wall. Alright, so I want to wrap this up with one last bonus hack for those who like to work on cars. Obviously, I have a Jeep Cherokee that needs work all the time, and these little toolboxes, you could get a dime a dozen. A good friend of mine gave me this one. Sometimes you may just be upgrading out of this one, but keep it. What this does, it holds all my miscellaneous clips, bolts, fittings, electric parts, and just small Jeep parts. Obviously, I got larger parts on the shelf, but this keeps up with all my smaller stuff just for my Jeep. But thank you very much for watching. If you like this type of content, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you'd like to see a more in-depth look at any of these projects I shared today. And in the meantime, we'll catch you next time.